Welcome back. Work and life, when you put them together, can be quite a challenge. Some of us enjoy success, but there's definitely challenges, and there's particularly challenges from technology as technology changes, and from life in general. Um, and very often, I don't know about you, but I've got to ask, is it me? So here's a question for you. What do you think your situation is just at the moment? Put a comment below for me. Just a really short redemption story for you about the importance of understanding your situation. Rich Roll went from being a pretty serious addict, alcohol and drugs, to being one of the world's most recognised endurance athletes. You can go and look him up online, it's quite a story. But his moment of truth came after he basically lost a decade. He'd been in law school, he'd done really well, he was on the edge of Olympic selection for butterfly, a phenomenal athlete. Then he discovered beer and then other drugs, and it all went downhill from there. But after about 10 years, he recognised his situation. There were a couple of moments of truth for him. He couldn't get up the stairs at home. His parents basically disowned him and told him he'd got to get sorted out. At that point, recognising his situation, he turned his life around, and the rest is history. Now, we don't all become addicts, and we don't all get into the complete mess that Rich got into. But nevertheless, in a recent survey, 79% of us recognised or claimed to have symptoms of burnout. In another survey, only 33% of people at work reported that they were engaged. That means over 60% of people at work are disengaged. Something's going on. Now, AI and changing technologies are changing work. They're making some work obsolete. They're really challenging for IT professionals because you don't know which programming language or which new piece of technology is coming along next and what it's going to do. And my observation of watching all of this and what I'm concerned about is that too few of us are thriving, and too many of us are being forced to adapt rapidly to a situation, or we're simply surviving, which is a real worry. And just to go back to the subject of my redemption story, Rich Roll says, we are all capable of so much more than we allow ourselves to be. What does all of this mean? Well, for me, to change your situation, to have your moment of truth, you need to recognise where you are. And there's a very old, well-established technique that enables us to do this. And I'll just walk you through this approach. I'll attach this canvas below. You can go and look up other canvases. It's called the Wheel of Life, and it tells us where we are. The idea is that we look around the 10 categories, and different versions of the wheel have different categories in them, but this is the one that I tend to use. And we score them against 10. 1 is where you're not at all satisfied, and 10 is where you're pretty satisfied, and 6 you're somewhere in the middle. And you just put a cross on them, and I'll walk you through it. So I'll just do this for me. He says, fighting his pen. And so what we've got here, money and finances, I'm somewhat satisfied with where I am. With my career and work, I'm actually pretty pleased with where I am right now. Health and fitness, I'm not particularly enamoured of where I am now. With fun and recreation, we've made a lifestyle change which has made life a whole lot easier, so that gives me a 10. The environment that I live in is actually pretty good. The community, I need to do some work to grow my community out a little bit more. Family and friends is, again, needs to do a little bit work, but life's pretty good. I'm a very lucky man with my life partner. That's a big score. And I'm really pleased with the direction I'm going in with my personal growth and learning. And in terms of spirituality, after a very long time, I'm very comfortable in my skin as a humanist. And so I believe in the goodness of people. So I'm pretty good. And what that gives us, and I'll just grab a ruler from off to my left here, what that gives us is an idea of where, in my case, where I am. Let's just go through that very quickly. Try and not blur the paper too much. And it gives you an idea of where you're sitting at the moment. It gives you your situation. And there we are. So that's my personal situation, which is a reasonable shape. Ideally, what you want, I think, is to have the circle, so to speak, the web or the wheel as full as possible. In my case, it's a little bit uneven. So I want to do some work on my money and finances. I need to do some work on my health and fitness. I need to do some work on my community, family and friends. Needs a little bit of work. There's 3 areas for me to go. So if I want to have work and life really well integrated, it gives me a starting point for thinking about what sort of objectives I need to set. Really straightforward and a great place to start. If you do nothing else, doing that will help you get underway. And the template's below. And just to finish up, just remember that your situation is probably perfectly normal. But it doesn't, in the old engineering vernacular, necessarily have to be effed up. Start with where you are, get a plan, and move forward.